Hello and welcome. My name is Natty Cash, and today we are going to do a full mock draw of the new Champions League phase. If you haven't seen, I put a video out earlier about kind of a deep dive into what the differences are between the league phase and the group phase, and we kind of looked at what a draw would look like. Today I'm doing a full mock draw of what a potential schedule could look like and how through randomness we might have some uneven matchups or uneven schedules, but this is kind of how the process is going to work moving forward. So come along with me. We're going to then take a look at that, and then I am going to simulate what a draw would look like, and I'm going to show you every bit of that as we go along. All right, so welcome in. I know that I'm doing this in a very basic, barbaric way, but I'm going to just explain how the regular draw is going to happen and how it's different than what's been done at the group stages before. And then we're going to kind of run through what could potentially happen as a result of that. So how it's going to work is every team is put into one of four pots. Okay, and that's determined by your UEFA coefficient. So the highest UEFA coefficients in pot 1, the next highest in pot 2, and so on. What will happen is all the teams from pot 1 will be put into a bowl, like with the balls that you would see from the group stages, and one of those teams is going to be drawn. Then, once that team is drawn, a computer is going to simulate all the 8 teams that they would play against, which would be 2 teams from pot 1, 2 teams from pot 2, 2 teams from pot 3, and 2 teams from pot 4. A couple things that we'll have to watch for is that no team can be drawn against a team from the same domestic association. I have this unless necessary, but the only situation where that would come up is if one pot was vastly filled with teams from one domestic league, which the most we have here is 3 German teams in pot 1 and 3 Italian teams in pot 2. So that's not going to come into play. Number 3 is you can be drawn against a maximum of 2 sides from the same country. So again, once one team has had, say, 2 German teams drawn against, they cannot have a third team from that same league drawn against them. So we're going to follow that along as best as we can. There is a chance that I'm going to make mistakes here. I'm going to try not to make any major ones, and we will move forward and see how this is going to work. So for the sake of this video, we are going to then randomly draw these. Now, the way that I'm going to do that is through this random number generator I got tucked away in this corner here. So that's what we're going to use for this simulation. And kind of put in how many inputs we need. We'll put a number to every team and be able to draw it that way. One other thing that I want to show you before we begin is that I have kind of set up individual schedules so we can go back and take a look at some of these individual schedules and just see and confirm, okay, are there some easy schedules, some hard schedules, and kind of look at what that could look like. And make a kind of a compare and contrast once we're done our draw. But we might jump in here every once in a while as well, in case there are some special circumstances that we have to look at. So we're going to get started here, and I'm just going to put some numbers on here, and then we're going to make our first draw and our first schedules coming up. All right, so I have taken a moment and I have put numbers on each of the 9 teams here from pot 1, and so we will use our randomizer as though it's one of those balls in the bowls for pot 1 and determine which of these teams will end up determining their schedule first. So let's bring up the randomizer here. Let's put in 9 different inputs here. So out of these 9, the first team that we will determine will be Real Madrid's schedule. So again, I might have moved away from that too quickly. Real Madrid schedule number 3. So at the beginning here, of course, there's going to be many different options, but you're going to see that narrow down over time. Right now, the one thing we can identify is Real Madrid cannot be drawn. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. They cannot be drawn against themselves. They cannot be drawn against any other team from their own domestic league. So with that in mind, that means the first draw here is going to have 7 different options for the home tie that Real Madrid. So what that means is that's going to be a home game for Real Madrid against someone. So we have 7 different options here, and they are drawing Borussia Dortmund. A nice replay of the Champions League final. And I'm going to mark here as well is that Borussia Dortmund has been chosen for a home tie already. They can't be chosen again for the away tie because Real Madrid cannot face Dortmund twice. So then now we take a look and we have 6 different options of teams that they can face. So 6 different options here. And their next option is Leipzig. So Leipzig is their away matchup. So Borussia Dortmund and Leipzig are Real Madrid are playing. Now, as we take a look at this, that is 2 German teams. The rule here says you can be drawn against a maximum of 2 sides from the same country. So even before we start the next portion, Bayer Leverkusen and Stuttgart also have to be removed because Real Madrid cannot draw them either. So as we take a look here, we go into pot 2. We have 7 different options that Real Madrid can choose from for a home fixture, and that home fixture will be against Juventus. So Juventus will be drawn here. Again, Juventus cannot have another draw against Real Madrid, so we're going to, oh, I keep doing that. We cannot have Juventus drawn again. So now we are down to 6 different options for Real Madrid to draw. So those 6 different options, they draw AC Milan. So AC Milan, that's an away tie for Real Madrid, will travel to AC Milan for a matchup. Now, what that means is, again, they have 2 Italian teams on their schedule. That means any other Italian teams left cannot play them. So you see how that can be limiting already. In this row, there is absolutely no limits. So there is actually 9 different options here that can be determined. So 9 different options from pot 3. That would be a home game for Real Madrid. They will have Red Star Belgrade traveling to them as a home matchup. So Red Star Belgrade have been picked. They cannot be drawn again because you can't play a team twice. So there are then 8 potential matchups for an away team, and that away team will be Sporting Club de Portugal. Oops. What happened there? There we go. One thing I forgot to explain as we go in here, the colors are referring to teams from specific associations, so German league, like Bundesliga, Premier League, Serie A. It's a visual reminder to show that we can only have 2 in any one schedule. So that's why I have them color coded as such. Any of the teams in white, they are the only team from their respective domestic league, so they do not need to be color coded. Next, we go into pot 4. And with the restrictions already determined, there are 6 different options that Real Madrid can draw from. So out of those 6 options, they get a home matchup where then Stade Brestois will travel to them. They cannot be drawn again. So then we have 5 different options that can be drawn as the home leg or as an away game. And that would be against Monaco. So Monaco is then chosen here. So Real Madrid's schedule has home games against Borussia Dortmund, Juventus, Red Star Belgrade, and Stade Brestois. And they have away matchups against Leipzig, AC Milan, Sporting Club de Portugal, and Monaco. That is what Real Madrid's random schedule ends up being. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this into the individual schedules here, and then we're going to continue on drawing each schedule for each of the pot 1 teams. Now, one thing that I wanted to point out is as we fill in a schedule, realize that the schedule for Real Madrid not only is a schedule for them, but it's a schedule for other teams. So Borussia Dortmund going away to Real Madrid is also been chosen. Leipzig having a home game against Real Madrid is also chosen based on how this schedule is rolled out. And that not just only affects pot 1 teams, but pot 2, 3, and 4 teams as well, as you can see. So what will happen is this will start to fill out fairly rapidly as we continue on, and the options that we will have become more and more limited as we continue forward. So let's go back to the other page. We're going to reset that other page and pick another team to build their schedule. So before we draw our next team, one thing to note here is I've filled in that Real Madrid already has a home and away matchup. So they are already finished. So that's noted here and here as well, that they are already finished. They've gotten a home and away draw against a pot 1 team. So they aren't going to be redrawn, otherwise they would have too many games against pot 1 teams. So as we take a look here, there are 8 teams left that from pot 1 that we're going to determine their schedules. So we have 8 to choose from, and our next one is Liverpool. So Liverpool gets chosen as our next team to build a schedule from. So let's take a look here. We can see that Manchester City and Liverpool, of course, cannot be drawn against Liverpool. Similarly, Arsenal and Aston Villa are restricted in the same way. So as we take a look, the home matchup can be one of, 5 different matchups here. Bayern Munich, PSG, Inter Milan, Leipzig, or Barcelona. So as we do a draw here, their home matchup will be Paris Saint-Germain. So Paris Saint-Germain get drawn. They could not be drawn again for Liverpool. So then we take a look at the away ties, and it would have to be Bayern Munich, Inter Milan, cannot be Leipzig, but it could be Borussia Dortmund and Barcelona, as we see what's available for the away leg. So 4 different options here. And the draw is Barcelona. So Barcelona will be an away trip for Liverpool, play Barcelona during the league phase. Then I take a look over at pot 2. I can draw any team as long as they aren't from England, and it's not Juventus, because Juventus has already been drawn in that home slot. So we have 7 different options for the home game for Liverpool. And it is Club Brugge that are drawn here. So Club Brugge will travel to Liverpool for a game there. They cannot be drawn again because you can't have Club Brugge playing Liverpool twice. Then when you take a look here, and now there are again, there are 6 different options here, as AC Milan's not an option that, as they've already been drawn for an away game. So 6 different teams available here. And Liverpool will go away to Shakhtar Donetsk. So Shakhtar Donetsk are drawn by Liverpool. So pot 2 is done there. Pot 3, again, there are no restrictions as we can see here. So there are up to 8 different matchups because Red Star Belgrade have already been drawn as a home matchup for a pot 1 team. And so we end up getting a Sporting Clube de Portugal. So Sporting Clube will then travel to Liverpool. They cannot be drawn again, and you'll see they cannot be drawn again for the rest of this portion. And as we then renumber, there are then 8 different options because Sporting Club was the only other team to be picked for the away leg. So 8 different options here. It will end up being Dinamo Zagreb. So Dinamo Zagreb get chosen as the away team in this description here. And so then we go to pot 4. And the only restriction we have here is Aston Villa. If there's a scenario where one of the French teams gets drawn, then there'll be a restriction there. But for now, we do have a full options, which ends up being 7 different options because Brestois had already been chosen. And we have Girona being chosen here. Now, normally we wouldn't be able to choose any other Spanish teams. However, there are no other Spanish teams left in this portion of the draw. So having those two, we don't need to make any other new restrictions. And so the only thing we have to keep in mind is Monaco cannot be drawn as the away leg, but Brestois can. So there are 6 different options available to us, which would then give us Sparta Prague as the away fixture for Liverpool. So Liverpool has home games against Paris Saint-Germain, Club Brugge, Sporting Club de Portugal, and Girona, and has away matchups against Barcelona, Shakhtar Donetsk, Dinamo Zagreb, and Sparta Prague. So that is Liverpool's mock schedule. We're going to put that into the individual schedules and then take a quick look. So just taking a quick look at Liverpool's schedule added here, you already have a potential dichotomy between the difficulty of Real Madrid's schedule versus the potential difficulty of Liverpool's schedule, where you have a lot more teams from the top 5 leagues in Real Madrid's schedule compared to Liverpool's. So you're going to have some differences in schedules here. Some of them are more difficult than others, and that may help or hinder their chances in the league phase. But as we're trying to do here, is make as random as a draw as possible. But some people are going to look at this and say, oh, well, it was rigged for Liverpool to be successful. Well, maybe, but that's kind of how a random draw will work, that there is going to be some discrepancies and that not all schedules will be made evenly. But I wanted to point that out and for us to then continue on with our next Pot 1 team schedule. All right, back here again noting that Real Madrid and Liverpool are finished. But also importantly, Sporting Club de Portugal are finished for this phase because they have already a Pot 1 team as a home and an away matchup in Real Madrid and Liverpool. So they're also finished and cannot be drawn again. As we take a look, there are 7 teams left from our little bowl of Pot 1 teams, and Bayern Munich gets drawn next. So Bayern Munich gets drawn next. Okay, note that we cannot draw Bayern Munich or Leipzig or Borussia Dortmund or Bayer Leverkusen or Stuttgart in this process. That really does limit our options here, and so we'll be cognizant as we get further down, making sure that there's enough options for each of the German teams, because that's going to be our main deadlock at this phase. We'll see a similar deadlock when we talk about some of our Pot 2 teams as well. So currently for home matchups, we have Man City as an option, Inter Milan, and Barcelona. Those are the only 3 options at this point in time that Bayern Munich can be drawn against. So we have 3 teams here, and they are drawn against Inter Milan. So Inter Milan and Bayern Munich, sorry, not Barcelona, Bayern Munich will be drawn. Now, we can't draw Inter Milan again. However, we do have an option where Paris Saint-Germain comes back in because they have not been drawn for an away draw. So we now have still 3 options available to us. So we then will draw from 3 possible scenarios, and we have Barcelona as our option here. So Barcelona is the away leg for Bayern Munich. So Pot 1 is done. Then we go to Pot 2. Again, the only restrictions here is Bayer Leverkusen cannot be drawn, but we are going to watch to confirm because we do have Spanish and Italian teams, which there might be some confliction as we get further down. However, at this point we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different options that can be chosen. So we have 6 different options, and we get Benfica as a choice here. So Benfica will be traveling to Bayern Munich for a home matchup for Bayern Munich. They cannot be drawn again. But then when we take a look at the away matchups, Juventus does come in as an option, although Shakhtar Donetsk and AC Milan are no longer an option. Club Brugge is, so there are 5 different options available there, which then Atalanta gets chosen. So Atalanta gets chosen as an away fixture for Bayern Munich. That does mean later on, as we take a look, Bologna will not be able to be chosen for this round. So Bayern Munich will not be playing Bologna, but we'll get to that in pot 4. Pot 2 is done. We move to pot 3. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different options that can be drawn for pot 3. So with those 7 options, we end up getting Lille. Lille gets drawn for a home leg matchup. Now they cannot be drawn again against Bayern Munich, but as we take a look, then we still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different options available for the away leg for Bayern Munich. So 6 different options available, and they draw Celtic. So Celtic gets drawn as the away leg for Bayern Munich. Then we look at pot 4. Again, we've already stated Bologna cannot be drawn and Stuttgart cannot be drawn. So we end up having 1, 2, 3, 4, not Girona, but 5 can be drawn for the home leg. So there are 5 that could be drawn for the home leg, and it is Sturm Graz that are drawn. So Sturm Graz will travel to Bayern. Bayern will have a home game against them. They cannot be drawn again this round, but we do have then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different options available for the away leg. We just couldn't have Monaco. There's another team that I'm missing here, and so let's just confirm that before. We have Sparta Prague, so Sparta Prague should not be in this draw either. That's why I'm trying to catch my mistakes before I make them. So yeah, Bayern Munich then can't draw Sparta Prague away from home. So then there are 4 different options here, and they will be drawing Slovan Bratislava. So away from home, Slovan Bratislava will get a home game against Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich is the one that's traveling away to Bratislava. So Bayern Munich gets home matches against Inter Milan, Benfica, Lille, and Sturm Graz. They will get away matchups against Barcelona, Atalanta, Celtic, and Slovan Bratislava. That is their schedule. I'm going to put that into the individual schedules, and then we'll draw the next team. So before I continue, I realize I made a mistake here, so I'm going to fix it. Barcelona could not be drawn in as an away team here, and I ignored that when I did the draw. So I'm going to fix that. Basically, there then should have only been 2 options, Man City or PSG. So I'm going to just redraw this. I'm lucky enough that there wasn't any other conflicts that were here, so I'm going to just redraw that. It's got to be either Man City or Paris Saint-Germain, and we're going to have Man City. So Man City is going to be the away tie there. My apologies for that. I'm trying to catch any of my mistakes and making sure that there are no issues moving forward. So it's an away matchup against Man City and not Barcelona. So I have got that all fixed. So we're going to now draw our next schedule. So out of the 6 teams remaining in pot 1, our next schedule we're going to determine is Barcelona's. Now, one thing that we're going to notice here is that some of these teams already have matchups decided for them. So I'm going to just pull this from our schedules list and determine we don't need to draw another home team because Barcelona already has Liverpool. I just need another away team. And so the away teams that I have left here are Paris Saint-Germain, Inter Milan, and Borussia Dortmund. So those are the 3 that I can choose from. So I have 3 options here, and it is Borussia Dortmund. So Borussia Dortmund are the away team, so Barcelona will travel to Borussia Dortmund. Again, as we go through, I should be marking, so Atletico Madrid is not an option, and Girona is not an option for Barcelona either. Now let's take a look. In pot 2, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different options for a home tie for Barcelona. and they have chosen AC Milan. So AC Milan are, it's a home tie for Barcelona against AC Milan. That will finish off AC Milan. They cannot be chosen again. Then as we take a look, we end up having still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different options for the away leg as well, again excluding Atletico Madrid. So with 5 different options, we have Juventus being chosen here for Barcelona. Now, note that because there's 2 Italian teams in that schedule, that does mean that Bologna cannot be chosen for Barcelona for their fixtures. So, next is pot 3. Again, no other restrictions other than that Sporting Club has already made all of their predictions or all of their fixtures. So there are 6 different options that are available. So we can choose from any one of those 6. And we have Young Boys, so a home game against Young Boys, and so that is no longer an option for Barcelona. But then when we look at the away teams, then we see that there are still, 5 different options available to them. So for those 5 different options, we end up having Feyenoord. So they will travel to Feyenoord for their next for another matchup. Then we go to pot 4. Again, Bologna and Girona are the 2 teams that are not available to be chosen. So for home matchups, we have 5 different options. So we take a look at here with 5 different options. Aston Villa is chosen. So Aston Villa is chosen as the home team. They cannot be chosen as the away team. And so then when we take a look at the away team, it actually reduces down to just 3 different teams: Stuttgart, Sturm Graz, and Brestois. And it ends up being Brestois that is their final fixture. So Barcelona has home matchups against Liverpool, AC Milan, Young Boys, and Aston Villa. They have away ties against Borussia Dortmund, Juventus, Feyenoord, and Stade Brestois. So that is Barcelona's schedule. I'm going to put that into the individual schedules and we'll draw another team. Before we move on to the next draw, I do want to point something out when we look at these pot 1 teams, because one thing to note here is that neither team has pulled Bayer Leverkusen, and no team has pulled Stuttgart. And why that's important is because there's already a limiting amount of positions that they can be in. Out of the teams that are left, they cannot face Leipzig or Borussia Dortmund. Only one of them can face Man City. Both of them could be facing PSG, and Inter Milan can only face one of them. So already what that means is one of them will be facing Man City and PSG, and the other one will be facing PSG and Inter Milan. There is not enough slots left for them to have any other variety than that. So we'll see with our future schedules where those both Bayer Leverkusen and Stuttgart will fall in there. Similar ones to watch out for, but less important, is Atletico Madrid and Girona, making sure that they have enough positions to fill in, because Borussia Dortmund can't play them, and you might end up having some doubles elsewhere. But mainly looking at Bayer Leverkusen and Stuttgart, we already have some pretty specific restrictions with the schedule that's left. So let's take a look here. So we only have about 5 teams left over here. I didn't clear these out, so that's my bad. Juventus and AC Milan are actually both finished. And I don't think there's anywhere else that's actually fully finished other than Brestois over here as well. So let's take a look here. The 5 teams from pot 1, we're going to draw to see which schedule to make next. And we're going to make a Leipzig schedule. So Leipzig already has something in their schedule. So I'm going to just bring that over here. They've already have Real Madrid chosen as part of a home game. So they're only really determining an away game. Now, as you can see here, Leipzig either is playing Paris Saint-Germain or Inter Milan. Actually, as I'm taking a look at this, we do have an issue arising. I'm going to kind of reverse a little bit of what I'm doing here, because there is going to be an issue that comes up here. So just give me a moment, and I'm going to explain where the issue comes from. So I just reversed back to Barcelona's draw, and we have one last draw left. We had originally drawn Brestois here, but actually we're already reduced down to one choice here. And it actually has to be Stuttgart. Because one thing that I didn't notice is that when we take a look at the schedules over here, Leipzig is going to fill in one of those schedules when I did that math with the German teams that are left. And so there's actually 5 slots that we had to fill in with only 4 slots remaining. So Barcelona, even though it was not until now, we actually have to, regardless, Stuttgart has to be their last pick. Regardless, because we have to get one fixed German fixture put into this schedule. So Stuttgart is actually going to be the away tie for Barcelona. I'm keeping this in the video because I want to explain how complex this is to then make sure we've got all of those situated for each of these schedules. So I'm going to fill this in, and then we'll get back to, and we'll come back and do Leipzig schedule as though I drew it previously. So sorry for the confusion there. This is Barcelona scheduled with Stuttgart in there, not Brestois. So again, just to prove my point with Stuttgart here, when Leipzig is pulled, they can still face Inter Milan or PSG, and then there's still enough space between Man City, PSG, and Inter Milan to fill in 2 games from Bayer Leverkusen and 1 game from Stuttgart. So I apologize for that, but I just wanted to fix that right here and there, and before we moved further along and really had to kind of backtrack. Okay, we are back with Leipzig here. Let's grab their schedule. Leipzig's schedule is here. Again, they already have a home tie against Real Madrid, so we're only really determining the away draw. Borussia Dortmund is not an option, so it is either PSG or Inter Milan as an option here. So we will randomly draw that, and we will end up having Paris Saint-Germain being chosen here.